Legend of Dragoon.
Welcome back, friendly ghosts, and welcome back to the core combat tutorial. Today we're going to be going over attacking types and how to deal damage. Often you will hear how damage is too limited in this game, or how damage is not plentiful enough. I am going to teach you, or I'm going to tip you on the general principles to finding your enemy's weaknesses and the best ways to strategize around that and to deal damage accordingly. Number 1. So players who feel punished too harshly for missing additions, as their damage is too low, or they grow weary of using additions and they get tired of pressing the inputs. You know, I get the same way too sometimes. There is no hard solution for this. However, there is a soft one. Use starter additions. Starter additions increase your base hit power. So if you just want to spam your turns without concentrating, without worrying, just want to mash and just get through each encounter, the strat here is to max out your starting addition and just spam X. Your whiffed starting additions will still do good, decent amount of damage. In fact, they will do greater damage than your ultimate additions if you whiff them. Of course, only if you whiff them early. Tip number 2. Options of attack and assessing weaknesses. Base physical, base item magic, Dragoon's physical, Dragoon magic, and elemental buffs. So the beauty of this game is that you can use the eye test to assess enemy weaknesses. Here is a rule of thumb to judge enemy weaknesses via the eye test. If the enemy is a brute, looks like a tank, and is primitive, then they are weak to magic. If the enemy is strong magically, looks lean, agile, puny, or sophisticated, they are weak to physicals. If there is no significant difference, using your character's highest attribute can never lead you wrong. For some characters, no matter what the situation, their best option is always going to be this. So it is character specific, but also there are some extremes. Now, if the eye test doesn't cut it, try the feel out test with some early jabs. What helps me find what enemies are weak to, or at least what they are weaker to, is keeping track of the top digit number of your character's addition, and make the calls accordingly based on that. To keep things simple, let's say that there are 4 defensive types shared throughout the game: average, physical, magical, and an exaggerated variant of one of those 3. Now, if you're average across all genres. If you're physical, you're weaker to magic. If you're magic, you're weaker to physical. Based off of that concept, you'll see identical damage numbers on enemies early game as you would see on enemies late game. This gives you a value of what's high and low for your specified character. So the fill out turn comes in with taking an early turn to compare addition versus random throwaway magic. If you're unaware or can't remember what's ahead, one strat is to just have both bases covered, a character decked out in magic or one decked out physically, rather than just using a safe middle ground build for all your characters across the board. This way you'll always be prepared no matter what is thrown at you. Tip number 3. Dragoon has a few breakaways from base attacks. Some enemies will use stances or barriers only Dragoon can break through. There are very few and far between, but you will find them if you look for them. Dragoon magic is treated the same as item magic, yet there are also some major distinctions. Just to give an idea, in JP, item magic deals significantly much less damage, to such an extent that even the Sight Bomb from Miranda is weaker or on par to a level 1 spell of Dragoon magic. Many people do not know the best way to deal big damage and simply upgrade their equipment at any possible chance. There's nothing wrong with this, however. There is one particular weapon and attack combination that is the highest physical in the game. It even outbeats the ultimate additions, unless they are trained above 350%. Specifically, I tested this specifically on Dart and Rose, because there are different Dragoon types. So for theirs, 350% is where their ultimate or distance or any addition starts to outbeat their D attacks. Even with these ultimate additions trained, at a high level or at a max level, there are still some instances where even they cannot outbeat this combination, even with their best weapon equipped. Elemental buffs. You can only get this buff with an element weapon. The combination of a special transformation field plus the elemental weapon plus an elemental weakness, let alone with a power up plus a power down, is an instant demolishing for anyone, any opponent, any enemy in your path. This means you've essentially powered up your physical D attacks with 5 power-ups. Do not, and I repeat, I wrote this in all caps, do not throw away your elemental weapons. Even without the elemental weakness, this combination still works on all enemy types across the board. Unfortunately, only Dart, Rose, Albert, and Shell can utilize this strategy faithfully, as Shauna does have an elemental weapon, but see Shauna, right? There's nothing else needs to be said about that. I highly recommend you stack your physical attacks, attributes, your physical attack attribute for this strat. This same method is applied with magic. If you're aware of an enemy weak to magic, prep your magic attributes accordingly. Single and powerful item magics are the most reliable magics in the game besides the Psych Bomb. I won't go into detail with magic as it is the most common understanding of the game. You know, it's pretty common to use it and how to utilize it. However, in future installments of the tips and tutorials, I will uncover more strats that are less commonly known regarding ways to maximize these usages. Now, in closing, keep the rule of thumb in mind when approaching these fights and wreak havoc among them. With these tactics, those long boss fights will be cut in half by every sense of the means. And I am glad to bring you this 3rd installment of the tips and tutorials, the longest video by far, but it is good to be back. And with that, I bid you further ado. May peace be with. Always keep your heads up. Deuces, dos, both, adios, stay cool. And if you like my content, be sure to show some love. But always be sure to show some love to the people that matter to you. This is ITOwl bidding you farewell. Be cool. Peace.